Hi there, this video we're going to start moving on to trends in the species over time. There are lots of names, but don't get bogged down the names. It's basically the gradual progression that happens. So this video is going to have an overview of all of them, and then I'll probably do a separate video with two of the more ancient species on it before moving on to ones closer to us. So it's basically, we're looking at the difference between going from being an ape-like species. So here we are, see this is actually the leg, and the foot is more like a hand with that toe pointing out to the side and being good for gripping onto things, to being more like this. This is a species found in 2016, and they used the skull and made what they think the face might have been like. So this is a species a little bit like Lucy, the famous missing link between apes and humans. So that one's about 3.8 million years ago. There's a couple of terms that you might hear about. So a hominid is anything that includes all of the apes and us. So orangutans are a bit longer ago, but they are an ape, and so therefore they are a hominid. But if you think of gorillas and chimps being the closest ones to us, then there's a term hominin, not hominid, but hominin, which is the more human-like ancestors, and us are called hominins. So once we get to the ones we're going to start talking about who are becoming bipedal, they're now called a hominin. We are the only species left in that group. The others are all extinct. Okay, so here is a fancy timeline, and I'm going to send you a copy of this. But if you look on this side, it's going from 10 million years ago up to now, so that's the timeline. There's some useful little pictures on the side here showing you what the species would have been like and what they could do, and then in the middle is lots of the fancy names. So as you can see, that word hominid with a D, so it's all the apes and us, and about here we start becoming hominins, and that's where we're breaking off. We're doing our split from our last common ancestor with the chimpanzees, and we're becoming our own evolutionary line of hominins. That pause didn't work, so I'll just carry on. What else can we see in this picture? Some fancy names. This name Orin is the species that lived about 6 million years ago, which they sometimes call original man. So the sort of just beginning to be bipedal and breaking off from the chimps. One key thing to remember is that we've discovered that we used to think that we became brainy and then we made tools, or we became brainy and then we became bipedal. But the key finding with Lucy and some of the skeletons shows us that we actually became bipedal first, which freed up our hands, so then we used tools, then we ate meat, and the extra calories helped us become more brainy. And that's also a feedback loop, because then you go from, you know, being more brainy to being able to make even better tools, and on it goes. So this is a trend. This is in the Biozone book. You can see all of that. And so it's a really useful page to look at, because it shows you the relative size of the species. So this is actually starting from the Lucy-like species. Quite short still, but beginning to stand more upright, and as we go across we get taller and we get more and more upright, from the slightly curved to being very straight over here. You can see that we're starting to use tools as we go along, but we're walking on 2 feet first. And up here you can see the relative brain size, so quite small brain still, and then it gets bigger and bigger as we go along. So that's a really good page to look at in the Biozone. Another good page that shows the trends over time and the different species names is the very next one. It's quite complicated, so I've highlighted some things. Again, don't get bogged down all the fancy names, but on this side is the time from about 7,654 million years ago. Okay, so the older ones are at the bottom and the newer species at the top. The other thing to realise about this page is that there's a whole lot of question marks in it. So we get bits of fossils and some evidence, but we don't have accurate data. We're sort of making our best guess given what we've got so far. So we start back down here. Here's our original man species. Just some sort of bipedalism happening and a bit of a change to their teeth, but otherwise looks very chimp-like. Then in my next video I'm going to talk about this species, that's Ardipithecus, the one that's got the fun video with the man singing. And then this group here are called the Australopithecines. I'll keep repeating these names so you know. So there's a range of them. This is the Lucy-like species over here. And then there's a side branch, which I'll also mention, called Paranthropus, who died out. They didn't lead on to anything later on. But the Lucy-like ones, Australopithecines, then we think were the ancestors to all the different Homo species. So we have Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and eventually up to us with Homo sapiens. And we'll get onto them a bit later. But for now, we're going to look at these ones down here. And yeah, I might stop this video now, and I'll give you some more details on Ardipithecus and the other Australopithecines in the next video. Okay.